Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Relko, joined by Brian W. Peterson. Welcome to Sons of UCF Live. Adam Eaton is on assignment. Brian, let's work through a couple of things here. Let's talk about the distribution of tasks over this next hour.
I need to have a clear understanding of the distribution of tasks tonight.
We'd like to review your resume, if we would, and the job description for your time with us. I don't know. I don't even know what we're referencing here. Brian, welcome in. Good to a little history in Sons universe. I don't believe we've ever worked in these square boxes before.
I don't think we have certainly shared the square boxes on the screen before, but I don't think you and I have ever co-hosted a show together. So this is the first of its kind.
Buckle up, Brian. Just back from UCF and Football Media Day. I know you've been busy all day, so I don't know how much you caught of it, but the assembled media out there, Coach Gus Malzahn saying all the right things, as were players. Camp began this week. Couple of practices already in. A scrimmage this weekend. Football is back 28 days away until the start of the season against New Hampshire.
I'm ready. Bring it on. Yeah, media day is always the kind of I mean, once you get those practices taking place in media day, you know football is back. So I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Coach Malzahn unveiling the slogan for this season. He referred to it as TNT, tough and together. How does that strike you?
I'd have to say it's better than standard is the standard or whatever it was the prior
I never
year.
Understand that one. Did we understand that one? No.
I don't
know what
think
that slogan
that
is? That slogan is a 6 and 6 kind of slogan.
Yeah, right. Yeah, tough. I like TNT. You know, it's got a nice ring to it. Tough and together. So let's see how it plays out. You know, the phrase doesn't really mean much. It's how they play on the field and what kind of wins we see this year.
You know, under Josh Heupel in particular, he was oft criticized, me included in that, for not always taking accountability for mistakes. I will say this of Gus Malzahn. He has been taking accountability. You heard it at Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas. You heard it during his media availability earlier this week, as well again today. I asked him earlier this week where he was a different coach entering season 4 at UCF. With UCF, where are you different as a head coach?
You know, I think for me, it's just getting back to me. You know, I told our team last night, just getting back to my roots of who I am as a coach, the team taking on my personality, not a coordinator's personality or somebody else's personality. And that's really the big thing. I mean, I told you before I did self-evaluation. I mean, anytime you lay an egg like we did last year, it starts with a darn head coach. And just self-evaluation, get back to doing, you know, what I know to do, how I know to do it, and really approach each practice and each game with a chip on my shoulder.
All right, Brian, what do you make of that soundbite? The chip on the shoulder mentality from Coach Gus Malzahn?
It starts with the darn head coach, Trey. It starts with the darn head coach. You know, I was pretty happy to hear him talk about how they laid an egg in the prior season. I have said before, and I said in my most recent column on sonsofUCF.com, that UCF tends to be a stronger team when they've got their chip on their shoulder mentality. So if that is the message that Gus is pushing this season to his players and his other coaches out there, I think that we can find ourselves in a much more successful situation than we have perhaps did in 2023 in that 6 and 6 season that they have. So I'm excited to hear him taking some of the blame and saying, look, it starts with me. I want the players to take on my personality, and we're gonna really push this thing. I think that that's what we all have been wanting to hear.
What did you make of what he said about the team not taking on the personality of coordinators? I thought that was interesting as well. And he wants to own it. He wants it to reflect on him. And he was concerned perhaps that, you know, the vision of coordinators, prevailed over his own at points during the season.
You know, I'm not a football player, so I don't know about the dynamics that go on, you know, amongst the teams, you know, how close individual players are to their coordinators versus the head coach himself. But I mean, as the CEO, right, that's what we keep talking about, head coaches being in this current day and age of college football. As the CEO, you want your players to look up to the example that Gus, in this case, is laying out there. So if he's driven, if he's got that chip on his shoulder, if he says last season wasn't good enough, I hope the players pick up on that, and that motivates them to go out and give their best.
I've been uploading clips to my Twitter of today's presser with Coach Malzahn, and we had triple team coverage at Media Day today. Andrew Cherico, Clay Pasco, they join us now in Sons of UCF Live. They are just back to their residences, having been at the Nicholson Fieldhouse all day. Gentlemen, welcome back into Sons of UCF Live.
Glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Great to be
Show
back.
some excitement. You know, this is not the middle of the night when you're recording the show, okay? Hey, this
been
is
a
a
long
prime
day,
time
Trace.
hour,
It's been
okay?
a long day, Trace.
I was waiting for
All
Clay
right,
to say something. I don't know. He took the lead.
Yeah, this is usually where the two of you go, I'm a little groggy. What about you, Clay? All right.
It's not late enough for them, Trace. They're on the late night show.
It's too early. Andrew, you were out there, conducted a lot of interviews. I thank both of you guys. We divvied up the tasks. There was a distribution of tasks today at the Field House for Media Day. Andrew, what's your big takeaway? You got a couple of good questions to Coach Malzahn. What was your big takeaway from a conversation with him?
Yeah, I truly believe that this year they're going to have a different chip on their shoulder. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody throughout training camp and today we spoke. Gus has a different fire under him this season. They said he feels different. Players who have been with Coach Gus in previous years, players who were coached by Gus or coaches who were coached by Gus in Auburn are even saying the same thing, that when Gus has this fire under him, you want to like run through a brick wall for him. So I do feel that different in intensity this season, and I do think it can relate onto the field.
You had already a viral clip in which you asked him about Coach Deion Sanders at Colorado, but it was also another exchange with him.
Yes.
You mentioned going back to your former style of coaching. What is the standard that you expect out of your players that will lead to a better second year in the Big 12?
Well, I mean, just a disciplined brand of football, a hard-nosed edge, physical and mental toughness at TNT, and then a team that's close together. And, you know, we're really, this fall camp, man, we're earning the respect of each other out there. And any growing pains that we may have need to be on the practice field. They need to be strained to see what comes out instead of having the growing pains on Saturdays like we did last year. And so really that's really been one of the main things.
I thought that was interesting, Andrew, about the growing pains on the field during practice, but not during the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it last year. The brutal drops that happened, that one Boise State game where JRP had two catches that turned out to be interceptions, one in the end zone, and just the penalties, turnovers, all that stuff. Those were the pains, the growing pains that we saw throughout the season. That's not the usual Gus. That's not the usual Gus team. They're a lot more disciplined, not as much penalties. You have a lot more trick plays that are done successfully. Not weird 2-point conversion calls. But those
he never said those were going away. I didn't hear any of that today.
But done successfully. There's a difference. Those who are unsuccessful and successful. But I think he wants to get back to the basics. I think that's the most important thing for him. He said when speaking today, he said the transfer portal hasn't allowed him to be the same coach that he used to be. He used to have these guys from freshman, sophomore, all the way into their senior year, and he'd have that instilled in him. Now he's treating guys who he just got in spring as if they're veterans on the team, and it's a different style for him. But he says once he knows he can get back to his former self, that is when he can be his best coach, and I think that's what we're going to get this season.
Now, Brian, that's an interesting point right there, right? You don't get guys for 4 years, maybe 5 years. You might just get them for a season.
Yeah, I think we're swinging. The pendulum is certainly swinging that way. And it's going to come down to, a lot of coaches are saying that this is going to be the new norm, obviously, and it's going to be a new team every season, and that you're going to have to dip into that portal. And especially Gus has been doing that quite heavily these past few years, and with big time players too. He's not just filling gaps on, here and there. He's filling gaps at quarterback, bringing in running backs, defensive players. So it's a changing dynamic for sure.
Clay, what were your observations from the afternoon? You stayed busy. The way this was broken up, we got offensive players for about 45 minutes, then defensive players, Coach Malzahn for a half an hour, and then offensive coaches, defensive coaches. So we got a lot done in about 4 hours or so.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a busy day. But the one thing I noticed, and it was really cool, to see kind of the standard among everyone, is that every single player knew that last year was unacceptable. They admitted it straight out. Yeah, last year the results were unacceptable. 6 and 7 is not where you want to be. 6 losses, like even RJ, I heard him talking, to the people in front of me, and he was just like, yeah, 6 losses. or 6 wins is unacceptable. 7 losses, like I can't even. I think about it. Like he said, it keeps him up at night. The fact that they only got 6 losses and that they played so many close games within one score. He said we could have easily been 9-3, 10-2, but it's just the fact that we didn't finish, and that was also big with a lot of the players and coaches too. We didn't finish, and that is unacceptable. And it was really cool to see that sort of broad standard among all the coaches, all the players that I talked to.
We're going to have over the next couple of days and into next week these interviews on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Andrew, is there one interview that popped for you, player or coach?
Oh, I really enjoyed defensive back coach Trevon Reed's interview. I think you'll get that. It almost made me want to drive through a brick wall, the inspirational words that he was saying about Coach Gus.
And you mean that literally?
Oh, I mean that literally. Like, I'm like straight through this monitor right now, full speed. Put my chair on turbo. All right. But yeah, no, it was a great interview. And in terms of the players, let me think. Player. I enjoyed. Who did I enjoy? Oh God, I enjoyed all of them. I'm blanking right now. Javon Reed, Cam Martin was another good coach that I interviewed. I would say my favorite player interview. I really enjoyed Penny Boone. That was really good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, we don't know a whole lot about him yet, so I'm looking forward to hearing.
Yeah, he gave a lot of good
conversation.
He gave a lot.
What about you, Clay?
Ethan Barr for sure. I mean, not only was he a cool guy, but we just we just discussed. It was like a genuine conversation between me and him, not just about this season, but I got to know him about NCAA and how he's doing. I'd say we cut it. For about 10 minutes we talked for a very long time. And in terms of coaches, Coach Hinshaw, man, just the nicest guy ever. That guy can talk to anyone.
Would you get 2 questions in? Would you get 2 questions in?
2 questions in 15 minutes.
Yep.
15 minutes, 2 questions, and I just love how he genuinely loves UCF, and that's really all we talked about. So yeah, cool guy.
Was a late mailbag question from Robert, 2 letters, 2 words. Let me ask you, after being at UCF Football Media Day, are you more optimistic or more pessimistic compared to last year? And
I would say I'm optimistic. Last year was a big question mark. Going into Media Day, first year in the Big 12. JRP had his turnover concerns. You know what you were getting with the receivers. RJ Harvey, you knew he was good. You didn't know he was going to be that good. Defense, nobody knew how bad the rushing defense would be. I feel like you know a lot more about this team at this current state this year than you did last year during Media Day. I feel like just like you know more about the team. The biggest question mark still, can the run defense get better? Can the offensive line protect KJ? And can KJ be a good quarterback? Those are the 3 biggest questions. And of course, quarterback is a big one, but I do feel like you know more about the team and you feel that edge in the team this year.
Clay, what about you? More optimistic or more pessimistic?
Definitely optimistic. I mean, we've all know that Gus has attempted to go out and fix these problems that we had last year. Go get new guys, get better linebackers. But I think it's really hit home the fact that not only does the coach think this is unacceptable, but every single player shares the same sentiment of, last year was just not the standard. We let games get away, and I feel like now that our players are aware of said fact, we have a better chance of not letting these games get away from us.
Brian, did their energy, Andrew and Clay's, match the energy needed here in the 8 o'clock hour? Did they pick up the pace here?
I think they did. I'm pumped. Maybe it's just because football's back and I'm ready to go, but hearing them talk about, what they heard today and what they saw today, let me ask you this, guys. Who was the biggest player? It's different when you're sitting face to face with these players in the same room. Who was the biggest player that you saw today?
In terms of like
just size.
Like
These guys are big guys.
Oh, I think John Walker. I think John Walker looked like the biggest guy.
Lee Hunter,
Lee Hunter, those 2.
Yeah, I had the conversation with Lee Hunter, Brian. He's a big dude.
And then RJ Harvey, by far, I think, outside of offensive linemen, of course, those guys are tanks. RJ Harvey put on so much muscle.
Rubel he's like 6'9", isn't he?
Yeah, he's insanely tall.
Guy. They're monsters, yeah.
You guys back with a new show this weekend, Up All Night?
Absolutely. We have a new trailer debuting later on this show, so stick around for a sneak peek.
Who would have thought the Up All Night Sons of UCF Live collaboration going on right now? This is
tremendous.
Once in a lifetime event right here.
Andrew, Clay, you hustled all afternoon. Thank you for your work. Looking forward to seeing your interviews in the next couple of days into next week on Sons of UCF's YouTube channel. Guys, thanks much.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
All right, Brian mentioned the interviews. That includes with all the team captains present today. What was your reaction? 4 team captains, 3 offense, 1 defense, quarterback KJ Jefferson, running back RJ Harvey, offensive lineman Marcellus Marshall, and linebacker Ethan Barr.
You know, the thing about the players that get, and Gus pointed this out during his media availability today, was that the team captains are voted on by the team, and he really drove that point home. He's like, look, it was the players. It's a huge responsibility. It's a huge pat on the back to them. That's something that they all strive for. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this situation where you've got players like KJ Jefferson coming into his first year being a captain, right? There's going to be a lot of players that perhaps are transfer players that haven't been here for a couple of years that come in and wind up taking up a leadership role and end up being a team captain for the team. Nothing wrong with that, certainly. We'll see how it plays out, though. But I'm excited for those guys. I think it's a good group of guys that they have this year leading the team.
Couldn't begin our preseason camp coverage without inviting in former longtime assistant coach Paul Lounsbury, who, of course, I ran into at practice during the week. Coach Lounsbury, welcome back into Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you, Trace. Hey, Brian, how you all doing?
Coach, always good to see you.
It's always good to be here.
Just back, you were listening, just back from Media Day. One of the interviews that I had was with offensive line coach Herb Hand, who asked me to send along a message to you, if Clay will run that now.
Yeah.
First off, I want to wish
line coach in the country, and he's done a fantastic job, and he's doing a great job this year. We're going to be
all right. Let's listen to his message to you, Coach.
First off, I want to wish a happy birthday to my man Paul Lounsbury. I know he's a regular on your podcast, so happy birthday to him. It's my guy. I love seeing him at practice every day. Because at one, all the O-line coaches, we stick together.
Amen.
Coach, an old O-line coach. Happy birthday, Coach. Thanks for spending it with us.
He's exactly right. I am old, but I'm telling you, we are very fortunate to have Herb Hand. He's the best line coach in the country, and that's why Gus hired him, and he's doing a fantastic job. I'm thrilled to be out there and watching those guys and sit in the meetings sometimes with them too, and it's fantastic the job he's doing out there, and I really feel good about this group.
Well, let's stay on offensive line. I asked Coach Hand about the challenges faced last year and if this is going to be one of the most memorable coaching jobs. He said he's never had in his nearly 35 years coaching situation where he worked with 4 different centers during the year. I mean, it was a patchwork O-line throughout the season that held up much better than people expected as players were going down.
Yeah, well, he's like I said, he's the best in the business, and but there were some injuries, it was a tough situation for him. He had to mix and match players changing positions to get the best players on the field, and you always have to do that to some degree. But it was a lot tougher last year than it should have been. I think we got better depth this year, and we've added some really good players, and we got a lot of experience coming back. I mean, when you take a look at Paul Rubelt, who's just getting better and better all the time, and Amari Knight at the tackles, those guys have got a lot of experience. And then you look at Marcellus Marshall and Adrian Medley inside. They're both very talented and very experienced guys. And Caden Kittler got a lot of experience last year. So we got a lot of experience, a lot of snaps up front already under their belt.
I had an opportunity to speak with Marcellus, and he was at the podium earlier in the week, of course, named a team captain, and he was challenged by Coach Hand to show the leadership that would earn that vote from his teammates, and he set out and did that. And Coach Hand said he didn't really do anything different. He just was himself, and he showed it in the weight room and at workouts over the summer, and that earned the respect of his teammates.
Yeah, Marcellus has been doing the right things the right way the whole time he's been at UCF. And I will say there's another leader in that group too, and that's Paul Rubelt. Paul is just one of those guys that works harder than anybody else, and so that carries a lot of weight with the other players.
Do you see Paul Rubelt emerging as a starter on this O-line?
I have no doubt. He'll be a starter in my opinion, unless he gets hurt. He's he's just gotten better. Every day he gets better, and he's got a lot of talent. And he's I think kind of gotten over that not being growing up playing football issue. I think he's into it, and I think he's doing a great job. So he's a very talented guy too, very athletic, and 6'11", 6'10 and a half, 6'11".
Is that all?
And he's 330 pounds, and he doesn't look it. He looks a lot leaner than that. So I think Paul's going to play very well. I think all those guys up front are going to play very well. A lot of experience, like I said, a lot of snaps under their belt.
Coach, to your point, Paul Rubelt was available to the media earlier this week, and they got to ask him some questions. And the point that he kept driving home was how excited he is now that football is back, camp has started, and he's ready to be out there, and how much he's learned over the last 4 years now, going into his 5th year. Let me ask you this: what you've seen from practices so far, obviously with staying on that offensive line thought, offensive lines really need to gel together. What have you seen so far from practices as far as the offensive line gelling together? Do you think that that's going to be something that they're going to continue to work on throughout the season? Are they going to be ready come, game one, or how do you feel about what you've seen so far?
Well, they'll be ready game one. Herb Hand does a fantastic job of teaching them how to communicate and how to read what they need to read in order to communicate. He does a great job also with the quarterbacks involved in that, in protections. I think the quarterbacks will be better versed than other quarterbacks around the country with the protections, because Herb takes those quarterbacks and Darren allows that to happen, comes with them too, to work on protection. So those guys know what they're going to see. So the communication, there's a lot of different ways to block things. You just have to be on the same page. If you can get everybody on the same page, you got a chance to be really good. And that's what Herb and Darren and all the other guys, they're going to have them on the same page. So I'm really confident that they're going to be ready to go, but they'll be continuing to work on it throughout the year. Just, you got to get better as you go. You got to improve every game.
Coach Malzahn has mentioned that he feels a lot better about our depth this year as a team, as a whole. Obviously, in past years, offensive line has been one of those areas where depth has been of concern. If a guy goes down, do they have the next available player to step up and fill that gap? How do you feel about our depth going into this season on the offensive line?
I think it's much better. We signed 3 transfer guys that are all capable of giving us that depth. So I think it's going to be really good. I think the depth overall on the football team is much better, particularly on defense. From what I've seen the first week, I think we may have the most athletic defense and maybe fastest defense we've had in a long time. Those guys are doing a fantastic job, and the coaches you may see more of a nickel type look from us a lot, maybe an extra defensive back in there at an outside linebacker position to give us that speed and that athleticism. But I'm telling you, I've been very impressed, and Ethan Barr and the young man from Cincinnati, both of them, Deshaun, they've both had
on pace.
Yeah, they both had great spring practices and great fall practice so far, and they're both fantastic kids. I mean, I think maybe both of them were captains on their teams in their previous teams. So we got a lot of good things going for us, I think, and I'm really excited too about the running back position. We got R.J. Harvey some help. I'm really excited about Miles Montgomery, really gifted athlete and a tough, hard-nosed runner. And now Penny Boone, now you got the big guy too. So I'm excited about that. And there's a couple other of those guys at the running back room that might emerge too.
Well, Coach Malzahn said today, don't forget about Johnny Richardson. Somehow
Right.
He is rumored to be a guy that's going to leave every year, and yet he returns. That guy is fast, and you can utilize him in a variety of ways. Let's talk a little bit about quarterbacks. I think I'm guilty of this. I had opportunity to speak with Dante Culpepper at the Varsity Nights Golf Tournament, and I brought up the KJ Jefferson comparisons. You're very instrumental in having brought Dante to UCF. Correct me where I'm wrong here. It's kind of an unfair thing to put on KJ Jefferson, those Dante Culpepper comparisons? We're doing that based on his physical build. Big guy, 6'3", 247 listed on that opening day roster.
Well, first of all, he's not as big as Dante, not as tall, not as heavy. Secondly, he's not as fast as Dante. So it is unfair to put that comparison on him, I think. However, KJ is a very talented guy. He's got a strong arm and he can run, and he is big. And I think you guys hit it on the head earlier. If we can protect him in the passing game and make him feel protected, I think he performs a lot better than if he's under fire, So I think we're going to get that done. I think Herb will have that done in the offensive line. I have a lot of faith in them too. So I think that's going to happen, and I think KJ is going to have a great year. But there's some other good quarterbacks in there too. I was very impressed with the athleticism of Jakari Brown. He is one of the fastest guys on the team, and he's tall. He's 6'4" or so, and has a very strong arm. And then Dylan Risk. Dylan Risk is a very talented guy too, and he can run too. Not as tall, but he throws a good ball too. Very strong arm, and he's a good runner. He's more of the Plumlee type runner. So I really feel like we've got some depth at quarterback too. But KJ is the guy to at least to start with, and I think he'll be the guy.
I know it's only a couple of days of practice, but if you had to right now, we can check back with you later. Who emerges as QB2?
Boy, right now it's a toss-up between Dylan Risk and Jakari Brown.
You'll know a little bit more maybe after the scrimmage. That's an important scrimmage, isn't it? It's early, but that's important for some separation here.
It may be the most important scrimmage because it kind of lines up the pecking order and who gets the reps. More of the reps as you go into practice the next week. So I think maybe Jakari Brown because he's such a fast runner, but Dylan it's pretty even between those two right now, I think.
Well, Gus mentioned earlier this week that it was at least 2 scrimmages and possibly 3. So they may get extra reps to see, where they're going to place those guys. Let me ask you this, Coach. It has been alluded to that obviously KJ is brought in, and he's most likely going to be our starter going into the season. Jakari Brown, as you said, very talented guy, got a lot of upside. Gus had mentioned that he's going to be a part of the offense. Have you seen anything at practice as to how they might utilize him or perhaps Dylan Risk in addition to KJ? Are they going to have different packages?
I really don't know how he's planning on doing that. I just know that both of those guys are talented. Jakari in particular is fast, and Dylan's a really good runner, and he's pretty fast too. But I don't know exactly how they'll do that. But I have every faith in Coach Malzahn that he'll find a way to get those guys and utilize their talent. That's what he's good at. He's always been good at that, and he's ready. Like he has said, and like you guys have mentioned, last year was unacceptable to him, and it's unacceptable to everybody, and everybody knows it. And so I have faith that Coach will find a way to get those guys and get the ball in their hands and let them do their thing.
We've got to feel pretty good about going into this season knowing that we've got Dylan Risk and Jakari Brown. Jakari Brown, who played meaningful snaps at Miami before he transferred as a backup should something happen to KJ. You never wish for a player to get injured, but knowing that we've got that depth here certainly makes us feel better as the season moves forward.
Well, you have to have depth. You never know what's going to happen at quarterback, and that's the toughest place to find depth because you're only playing one at a time, so there's only one ball. So it's very difficult to keep talented depth at the quarterback position, but we do have some, and there's a couple other guys in that quarterback room that have some talent too. Colson and Trujillo both are very talented guys too.
One of the guys I really enjoyed talking with is Xavier Townsend. He was at the podium earlier in the week, and I had the opportunity to speak with him at Media Day and follow up a little bit more on something he mentioned earlier this week about how he appreciated the KJ Jefferson kept his eyes downfield, and that really, the strong arm, deep ball, it really opens up the offense. You could tell that he liked that, as a speedy guy like him, he knows that he can be I think I asked him today, how far do you think KJ can throw? And I think it's 60, 65, 70 yards. It may have been in that range.
Yeah.
What do you think make of that comment when you hear Xavier talk about, his command, KJ's command of the field?
Well, first of all, Xavier is an awesome young guy, as you well know, and he's very talented too. But he's right. KJ keeps his eyes downfield, and it opens things up for those receivers, all of them, because they work on scramble drill. They work on things when the quarterback's moving around to find the openings and to get themselves open so he can get the ball to him. And with his eyes downfield, he has a chance to do that. And he's a strong-arm guy, so the whole field is really available to him. So I think it's right on the mark, Xavier is, and I know all of those receivers are kind of licking their chops that they got some strong-arm quarterbacks that can get them the ball. We just have to get him protected, and we will. And those guys are going to do a fantastic job.
So you can pencil into your starting lineup Kobe and Xavier, Randy Pittman, most likely at tight end.
Yeah.
Who emerges, though? There's a bunch of wide receivers. Trent Whittemore was at media day. I don't know if that's a tip-off to what coaches are thinking, but he was at media day.
Well, Trent certainly
the highlight-worthy tape this week, of a catch with KJ. So,
well, Chauncey Magwood and Trent are both very talented receivers, and they'll all play. You got to have probably 6 or even 7 receivers that can rotate in there because they're running a lot. But I think both Chauncey Magwood and Whittemore are 2 guys that could start or probably will start at some point. And there are a couple other guys too. We got a new receiver that I don't know very well yet from Auburn who has shown some ability too. So we'll see.
Putting emphasis again on the Sunday scrimmage, an opportunity to make a name for yourself.
Well, the reason I said earlier that it's so important, the first scrimmage, is because that kind of lines up who gets the reps that next week and gives those opportunities to show even more. So, that first scrimmage is really vital for everybody, especially for people who are fighting for depth.
Whittemore was one of those guys that I kind of expected to hear more from last season. We didn't hear his number called quite very often, but I was happy to see that he made that big-time play in one of the videos that they had posted. Talk to us about Kylan Fox. He's a name that's new this year that has a lot of promise.
True freshman, very tall, talented athlete. He'll probably play. There's a couple guys that are true freshmen that may emerge in the receiver room that are going to help us. But I think the experience counts too. And with Xavier and Kobe and, like I said, Chauncey Magwood and Trent Whittemore, I think are all going to be fine. And Pittman is not just a tight end. He can go out and play in the slot too. So that's going to be good. I think we've got a lot of weapons there.
A lot of talk this week from defensive guys talking about Ted Roof's defense, blitz-happy defense, and they're ready to get after it, that he's firing up the guys. And they seem to believe that they have the talent to support that. From what you saw, and again, early, not a lot of action just yet. What do you make of those changes?
Well, as I said, I think it's the most athletic defense we've had in many years. Got a lot of speed and athleticism. Ted and I go back a long way. He was at Georgia Tech when we used to play them in the 90s, and he's a friend of mine, and he is a very aggressive defensive coordinator and a very talented coach. And
he's doing that this year.
He's doing a great job. His voice is hard to hear sometimes because I used to have the same problem. Your voice kind of, when you start fall practice, your voice kind of disappears. You get laryngitis a little bit from not having used it the same way over the off season. But Ted is an excellent football coach, and he is aggressive. So we'll see a very aggressive defense. We'll see a very disciplined defense. I think our whole team is going to be very disciplined. There's been a big emphasis on that too, and I think that's an important part. And Gus has always been that way, but I think he's made even a bigger emphasis on it this year.
A lot of guys in from the transfer portal, especially at linebacker. We know the problems that the Knights had against the run last year. They got to be improved, right? There's no way you can put back-to-back years that look like that.
They showed it in the spring, and they've just gotten better. like I said, Pace and Barr are two really good backers inside. Josiah Pierre is also a very talented linebacker. You may see him play a little defensive end too, to help get a little bit of pass rush. He's a very talented athlete. He'll probably play both spots. So you'll see a couple of guys at safety that are going to give us more speed back there, maybe in place of an outside linebacker. So I think they're making the adjustments to fix what was wrong last year, and I think they've done that, and it looks good to me. It really does.
Well, before we let you go, let me ask you about Coach Roof. He and I had a bit of a moment earlier this week when I asked about, the tasks between him and Addison Williams. What's the secret here? What's the key to properly, effectively communicating with Ted Roof?
Oh, I don't know. My relationship to him has always been coach to coach, and I don't.
So I can name drop you. So I was talking to Coach Lounsbury.
I don't know if it'll do you any good, but you can. But he's just a football coach. He lives, eats, and breathes it, and I do the same thing. So we kind of met in those terms years ago, and I don't know if there's a secret to communicating with anybody that is football crazy like we are. You just have to go with what you get, I think.
Well, I would enjoy a rapport with him, just like with you here, Coach Lounsbury.
It's easier for me. It's easier for me, Trace, because nobody's trying to get me fired, or nobody's calling up and saying we need to fire that defensive coordinator. Ted's in a tougher spot than I'm at, so it's pretty easy for me to be nice.
We appreciate you spending some time with us. Glad to have you back on Sons of UCF Live, and a big happy birthday from all of us in Night Nation to you.
Thank you, Trace and Brian, both. I appreciate you guys and what you do for UCF, and just go Knights, charge on.
Happy birthday, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Be out of practice.
I'll see you there.
Thank you, Coach. All right, he didn't help me entirely there.
So safe to say we're not having Coach Roof on the show anytime soon, Trace?
Not during the season, most likely. You heard Coach very high on Paul Rubelt, who spoke earlier this week, as was Coach Hand. He and I spoke about Paul Rubelt. And Brian, I want to play this soundbite here on the question Paul was asked about his expectations for this 2024 season.
Goals? We're going to run the table. We're going to do it all. Championship, all the way, playoffs. You better believe it. If you don't, then why are you here? But that's always the goal, every year.
What do you make of that, right? He's channeling his inner UCF Mike.
He had some note cards that were written by UCF Mike, I think. He was just reading from the prompter there. Yeah. No, I mean, he's right, though, right? If you're a football player and you're looking to the season to start, you have to have that as your goal, that you're going to win every game that you play. Otherwise, what is the point of going out there? Some games are going to be harder than others, but they have to legitimately believe that there's a chance that they can win every game, assuming they execute and do what they're supposed to do.
I asked one of my poll questions this week, going into the 2024 football season, how confident are you in the Knights' defense? I have no idea. 53.4%, Brian. That's how I would have voted in that. I'm not entirely sure. I think on paper things look better, but they got to hit on these portal guys, especially at linebacker. And spoke with Addison Williams, and he feels pretty confident about the secondary. And we know what we have seen along the defensive line. It's got to be better, right?
I voted I have no idea as well, just because season hasn't started and we don't really know, right? We're not in practices. We don't know what the team looks like yet. I would say that if I was putting up the poll, I would have given option D that says better than last year, right? To your point, it's got to be better than it was last year.
I believe it will be better than last year. And I feel like that,
I agree.
Along with KJ Jefferson, it makes me feel like there are more wins, obviously. And I don't think anybody's really questioning that. I don't think anybody's going into this thinking 6-6, but how many more wins? Is it 7? Is it 8? Is it more than that? That we're nowhere near sure.
Part of that is going to be, it takes me back to the 2017, 2018, and even the 2013 season, right? Coach mentioned this week and in his other media availability that we had lost a lot of one-score games in the prior season. And if you think back to those 17, 18, and even the 2013 Fiesta Bowl season, we won those games by having the ball bounce our way.
Yeah.
Is this going to be one of those seasons where we get the ball bounce our way and we have a team that's able to execute and pull off those one-score games, whereas maybe last year we didn't have that luck, we didn't have the discipline or the players or the depth that we needed to do so? And to your point, having players like KJ and our other transfers coming in and having a little more depth, I think that's going to go a long way.
Back to Robert's question, which I asked of Andrew and Clay that I didn't answer after today at Media Day. Am I more optimistic or more pessimistic? Certainly more optimistic. I'm still hedging, though, on 8-4, and I just want to see them prove me wrong on that and do better. And I think that's going to come with improvements in those late score games and on the road. They need to steal a game here somewhere that no one's necessarily expecting them to win. Is that Utah at home? Is that at Iowa State? And again, I maintain getting off to a strong start with that game at TCU. That's a tough road right there. TCU, Colorado. I mean, those are tough games. Every one of these Big 12 games, for the most part, is a tough game.
Well, that goes back to the fact that we had John Kurtz on a couple weeks ago, and he said that he sees potentially 7 or 8 teams that could play in the Big 12 championship. I mean, that's crazy to have such parity in your conference. That means that every game on the schedule obviously is going to matter, but winning as many games as possible is going to be that much more important for the Knights as the season progresses if we want to be relevant going into that potential Big 12 championship game towards the end of the season.
Let's talk a little more football news. Sold out family weekend against Sam Houston State. The sellouts are piling up. That's good for UCF. Where are you on the things that I like to follow leading up to a season? Watch lists, bowl projections. Is there one of those of that list that you like more than the other?
I don't follow along. I mean, I'll watch the watch list when they make the announcement. Oh, so-and-so player made this watch list. And the more you see those, the better obviously you feel about the roster going into the season. But I love me some bowl projection list. Give me all of the bowl projections.
I don't have any of those this week. I've got a watch list for you. Quarterback KJ Jefferson, running back RJ Harvey, 88th Maxwell Award watch list, most outstanding player in college football. To your point, bodes well that they're on that list. And as UCF Mike likes to say, it'd be nice to win some of these at some point. So it's not just making the list. Defensive tackle Lee Hunter. He got named to a couple. Bronco Nagurski list. That's Defensive Player of the Year. Outland Trophy list. Interior Lineman of the Year. Today, Xavier Townsend named to the Paul Horning watch list for most versatile player. UCF racking up the watch lists early on here, 28 days until the season opener. Big welcome home. I was very happy about this news this week. Hall of Famer. Athletics Hall of Famer Sean Beckton back at
Coach Beckton.
Yes, Coach Beckton brought in as an analyst. You heard Coach Malzahn talk about it during Media Day, saying he would have liked to have had him back. Hey, that's now Sean Beckton. That's Darren Hinshaw. That shows you this program maturing more as it's able to bring back former players in coaching positions.
Yeah, when he left, I was pretty upset about that. There was talk at the time that, maybe he was going with Coach Frost in Nebraska, but not necessarily that he wanted to leave UCF. There was some, haziness as to whether or not he really was welcome. And, there was some stuff going on with Coach Heupel at the time that was buzz. I don't know if there was any truth to that or not, but he was a big loss. He was a great recruiter for us when he was here. Obviously, his playing time at UCF is well known to those of us that have been around the program for a long time, but he is a great pickup for our program and something that's kind of flown under the radar a little bit this week as they announced that he's coming back as an analyst. But that's a great pickup for UCF to bring him back home.
Welcome back, Coach Beck. All right, hey, are you left-handed or right-handed?
I am right-handed.
So that's the hand you signed your autographs with, and I understand you're going to be coming up to FanFest on Sunday inside the arena.
I'm getting the gold pen, the gold Sharpie ready.
Do you have a gold Sharpie?
Gold Sharpie is ready.
Now,
I gotta go find it.
It's going to be a little bit much if you bring Color Slicks headshots and you're signing those. Maybe a little much. FanFest Sunday, 1:30 to 3:30 in the arena. But before that, kickoff pep rally Friday night in Thornton Park. I'm debating going to that. If you're going, drop me a line. Be happy to see you. It might encourage me to go out. I just don't want to get caught out there in any rain. It was pretty muggy and steamy for it last year. Just don't want to be out there in the rain. If they're
we might get some rain this weekend with that storm out there. They don't know where it's going to go. So,
well, I don't even want to bring that into the picture of this season. As we watch the tropics. But what's with the mug? What's the mug say, by the way?
Wendy's.
If you follow Brian, and many of you do on social media, you know that he's a frequent.
That's a picture of my daughter. This was a gift given to me by my wife. Yeah, so that's her and the Wendy's logo.
Yeah, but you're frequently at Wendy's.
You could say that. You could say.
Yeah. No, you by name. We had Clay and Andrew on earlier. They're back with an all-new episode of Up All Night this weekend. A little preview right here, right now.
I'm not going to say who. Trace Strelko.
He's definitely leading the rumors, allegations, and
5 worst passes I've ever seen in my entire life.
He gets to the bottom of it.
We were talking about football and not soaking. I wish we were talking about soaking.
Or he might get a restraining order, so we're trying to avoid that.
Yeah, I had to sign something. Trace maybe sign it.
I'm not serious.
I don't know. First I've seen of that. I don't know. My name was dropped. There was a mention of a restraining. I'm not sure the restraining order involves me. I like to think not. Up All Night drops Sunday night on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Time for a little news and note. Clay, do we have anybody that might intro this segment? Or not? All right.
Hey!
What?
I heard my name 3 times and I have appeared.
It's like a magic lamp.
Make the Suns live great again.
You never know when Mike is going to show up.
I thought you only did live Florida Gator shows.
When you get the paychecks come in, I can appear. So check cleared this week. Here I am.
Mike, hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? Trace, you made some big news this week. Congratulations.
You never answered me on social media when you said, or someone posed the question of top 5 spats with coaches. There's 1 or 2, I think, right?
There's a couple memorable ones at least. I mean, there's this week, and there was the Love Lady fiasco, and I don't know. I'm sure there's been others. No?
Trace is asking the hard-hitting questions, guys.
I don't even think these are hard questions. Is that?
There's no
it's not even
T-ball
a hard question.
No, it wasn't that hard of a question. You're doing a great job, as always. Sometimes things get blown up bigger than they're supposed to be. That's just the way it goes. And when things like that happen, I mean, there are consequences. And because of that, we have a very special announcement. The distribution of task, which is a phrase now that has become famous, has become a T-shirt and is now available to you on knights-fan.com. Our friend Miguel has put this up on the website. And now, just I believe for $24.95, you can have your own distribution of task Trace Strelko T-shirt.
Yeah, boy, imagine if I wore that to a media availability with Coach Roof. That would go over real well.
If you think we can get him to wear it by the end of the season?
No, Coach. I may need Coach Lounsbury to put in a good word for me with Coach Roof. Are you sticking around? Is that it? You just popping in, popping out? Or are you going to hang out with us, answer some of these mailbag questions?
You want me to answer some questions? I thought I was supposed to say task. Clear this up for me because maybe we can make an adjustment. Was it distribution of task or tasks? Multiple
tasks.
That's right.
I think I said tasks. I don't know how it actually came out. I haven't watched it again, but I thought it was.
Maybe we should go back and ask Coach Roof what he heard.
I thought it was tasks as well because I mean, if there's only one task, I mean, how much is there to distribute?
I just wanted to know what each of them did. Which what did they do? They're co-coordinators. It seemed simple to me. All right, women's soccer in action exhibition at Fort Lauderdale United FC Saturday down in Davie. You going to that, Mike? That's near you, isn't it, Davie? That's not too far.
Yeah, Davie's not far at all. I actually wasn't even aware of it until just now. What day? Saturday, 1 o'clock?
Saturday, 1 o'clock.
I don't think I have anything else going on, but probably not.
I would love a report from you.
I'll be like you. I'll say it depends on the weather. If it's not
Yeah.
raining, maybe I'll make it out there.
That's a caveat right there. Volleyball non-conference schedule released opens August 31 at Virginia Tech. So we're getting closer to all sports. This segment called Around the Kingdom, which leads us into this week's debate show between Eric Lopez and I. And we have a little from that.
Last year wasn't acceptable. I mean, Trace, have you ever heard of a coach go as down about a season that like Gus was last year, his first ever losing season as a coach, UCF going 6-7. He didn't buy into the, hey, we were transitioning to Big 12. He is still bothered by that. And I think that bothers him. I think he knows there are people that are questioning things. And I think he wants to quiet some of the critics out there that, hey, that was just a one-year thing and that we're here to compete right away in the Big 12.
The latest episode of Around the Kingdom with Eric Lopez and I on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Are you guys tired of the talking season? That's what I heard JP Gilbert coin it as. We got 28 more days of talk, and then we're going to have football to dig into, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I've been tired of it now for the last 3 months.
Months.
It seems like forever ago when we got our ass kicked by Georgia Tech, and I'm ready to kick somebody else's ass in New Hampshire in a few weeks.
Yeah, New Hampshire's. Want to thank Clay Pasco, who joined us earlier. He's doing a great job on Instagram. Mike, you also with the videos lately. You're working on another top 5 list this week?
I am. I was just editing one right now, right before I came on here. I'll be probably done soon after we get off here.
What's the preview? You teaser? What's the topic?
Okay, I'll let it go here. I think it's going to be the most debated topic we've had in the 5 episodes of the Sons of the UCF Mike's Top 5. It's the top 5 wide receiver duos.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Wide receiver duos. There's a lot to choose from. I had to leave a couple guys off, so I think there's going to be some debate here. But you should see that video coming out by the end of the night.
Mike,
you know what I appreciate about these lists is that it's not just 2017 to the present. You're going in the Wayback Machine. You might not always have video, but you're showing us something.
Mike,
it's
when
hard
are
to
they
dig
getting
up.
you your own intern?
What's that?
When are they getting you your own intern?
Yeah, I know. I was supposed to get Clay was supposed to be my assistant, but now he's
You got to
helping
get somebody to edit all this stuff for you.
I'll tell you
Clay
what.
was going to be your assistant, and now he's lobbing questions at RJ Harvey at Media Day.
Those clips that I make are 5 minutes, 6 minutes. They take me hours to edit out all those videos and the voice behind it and all that stuff. It takes a long time just for that 5 minutes, more than I thought it would be.
Well, we appreciate it.
We do.
Thank
We
you.
do appreciate it. Brian, should we just roll you saying it live, or do we need to roll that wonderful open? Well,
I don't want to take my. I'm not
with
going to
the
take
open
my
now that
vest
it's
off.
been
I'm not
better
going to
edited.
take my vest off.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Because I don't really like any of these guys. None of them are my guys.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm not sure. Did the edit make that better, Mike? Is it better now with that edit?
I don't know. I mean, I'm included in it now. So like the 3 of us here on screen are actually in it. But I don't know. You guys are my guys. I never said that about you guys. So I don't know. Let's see if Adam puts himself in one of these one week.
Yeah, no. There's Adam never makes any of these. At Golden Knight _2. What are your initial thoughts on the offense for fall camp? Saw some wonderful handoffs. We see nothing. We get nothing. So I have no initial thoughts, but you heard Coach Lounsbury's earlier. At Dare ZIM, which football records do you think will be broken this season? Mike, you're quite the historian. How about rushing yards by a quarterback in a season? Current record 862, JRP 2022. I find that hard to believe that KJ is going to beat that one. Not when you have RJ Harvey, Penny Boone, you have all those running backs.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think you're going to see a lot of KJ Jefferson on maybe 3rd and 2. A little option read there, down by the goal line for sure. I don't know how many 50-yard plus runs he's going to be breaking off to get over 800 yards. So I think he'll put up a few hundred, but I don't think it's going to be that much.
Maybe a touchdown vulture. Brian, what about this one? Consecutive 100-yard rushing games. Current record 8, Kevin Smith, 2007. Kevin Smith carried the ball so many times. There's no need I don't see how.
No, this is going to be running
There's
back.
too many
by
guys getting the
committee.
ball here.
Yeah, running back by committee. It's not going to be George O'Leary pounding the ball to poor Kevin Smith every play. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. They're gonna keep guys fresh, which is the correct thing.
Night Fan 94, Ladarius absolutely jacked. Not even sure how he gets his helmet fit all the way down with those traps. This just begs the question, and he's asking me, would you rather be tackled by Lee Hunter or Ladarius? I said, no way. I'm good with Lee. Had an opportunity to talk with him. I don't know if I shared this with you guys, but at media days in Las Vegas, Lee, he's a big guy. And he goes, I know you. And I'm like, oh, man. And we talked over the whole question and answer thing. And today at media day, he goes, I know you. I'm like, oh my, is Ted Roof nearby? That was what I was worried about leaving the media room the other day, is that he might have Lee Hunter escort to my Toyota Camry and shove me in the trunk. But I don't want to get hit by anybody. Them, you, anybody. 10-12 Network. Who do you think has more rushing yards this season, KJ or Penny Boone? Penny Boone's coming off 1,000+ yards, right?
Yeah, I'd have to go with Penny Boone myself too. Plus, you never know. You hate to say it, but RJ Harvey, last year he stayed healthy. Before that, he was never able to stay healthy for the entire year. You may see a lot of Penny Boone this year. So it's always safer to pick the running back than the quarterback. I'd have to go with Boone.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see KJ run the ball unless he needs to. And if it's going to be those short yard situations if he does.
At Lonely Bee UCF, mentioning Brett Yormark out at the Olympics, which would be the bigger win for Yormark, while in Paris selling the Louisiana Purchase back to France, or bringing some real travel destinations to the Big 12. Mike, if they traded out Ames and Lubbock for Paris or something, you'd be a little more interested in that Big 12 road trip?
For sure. I mean, I don't think France would take back Iowa at this point. So sorry, Matt Dolan, but I would love to add some better destinations for sure. I don't think Washington State and Oregon State are the answers I'm looking for with the rumors going around this week. But eventually we'll get some expansion here.
Brett Yormark is really big on Mexico, and some of that is not coming together like he had hoped. Would you go to a game staged anywhere in Mexico? Football.
Ooh, I mean, depending on how the cartel's acting that week, I don't know.
Light check, hotel check, cartel. Need more information.
Yeah, it depends on which city, how much security is going to be around. I'm not so sure.
Another one from Night Fan 94 asking about the interview questions. Which coach has enjoyed the interviews the most that I have had? Ted Roof certainly adding. It's got to be Greg Lovelady did not enjoy things. Ted Roof is going to live to see another day here. Guys, nothing. Yeah, well, anybody. All right.
Yeah, you answered the question.
Zeebel's UCF said the team needs to take on his personality, not a coordinator's. From your interactions with him, just watching in the last couple of years, how would you describe Gus's personality?
Guys. That darn coach, Gus?
Fiery, right? But I think there's a stubbornness that exists, and I think we heard it during the interviews today. I think he can get a lot of these things right, but there's still a stubbornness.
Absolutely.
It's that he makes the hard things look easy, but the easy things look hard. And I think he wants to outthink himself, which is something, Mike, you and Adam talk about.
Yeah, and I don't think you can fake being a tough guy. So he might be getting past it here this first week of training camp. Can he keep up that tough attitude the entire season if that's not really who he is? I'm not sure. So we'll see once the season gets started how he's actually performing in front of the microphone.
Riley carries. Yeah, Mike.
It's an interesting concept, Brace, because I feel like when Coach Frost was running the program, I feel like he had his players like following his lead, right? So maybe that's what Coach Gus is trying to do. He's trying to get the players to think the same way he is and motivate them the same way Frost was able to, touch his players and get in touch with them. Just something to think about.
So we need Gus to suit up and run the option.
Yeah, let's see. Gus put some pads on.
Riley carries 16. How you feeling about the refs this year after their disappointing season last year? Refs are going to ref. There are going to be calls that go UCF's way, and there are going to be a lot of aggravation.
Yeah, in any sport, professional, college, nobody's ever happy with the officiating. You just hope that you play well enough that it doesn't actually determine the game, but there's going to be a bad call everywhere. And we're going to benefit from some calls too. So if we win a game because of a call, then what are you going to say?
At Scott88513, what do you think the chances are of UCF making the playoffs this year? Brian, you mentioned it earlier. John Kurtz saying 6, 7, 8 teams could be in the mix. Gus saying 3, maybe 4 if things go right. Making the playoffs, I think, could be 4. They're going to beat each other up, but maybe.
It's always possible. Never say never, right? Like Paul Rubelt alluded to in his video earlier, right? You expect that your team is going to go all the way. It's possible. I wouldn't expect to see the Big 12 get more than one team into.
Only one?
Yeah, I would think just
no,
one.
I think they're good for 2.
I think they're going to beat each other up too much, and I think you're going to wind up with teams that come from the SEC that have a few more losses that are those quality losses, and I bet the Big 12 only gets 1.
Mike,
I could see getting 2. It depends on, obviously, if no more than 2 losses, but you could have 3 or 4 teams with 2 losses, and only 2 of them make the championship game, and then one of those other teams that were left out could make the playoff. But the great thing is, if we win the conference, we're automatically in. You could win the conference with 4 losses, and you're guaranteed a spot. Not only that, but you're guaranteed a spot in the second round.
Yep.
Right? Because the top 4, well, not necessarily, the top 4 conference champions. So unless the G5 conference champion is ranked higher than us, then yes, the Big 12 conference champion would have a home game in the second round. Not a home game. They would be in one of those BCS bowls.
Let's see, CFB_Knights_.com asking, what would you set the line at 2024 UCF versus 2023 UCF, right? We've heard that it's likely a better team on paper. What's the line in that game, Mike?
Obviously played at home, right? I guess wow, that's a tough question.
Which team's wearing gold jerseys?
Yeah,
that's not part of this.
Which team is Gus on the sideline for? Are we dividing up the coaches?
Which one is Gus coaching?
Coaches, same on both sides. Because last year you got a couple different coaches. You have Addison William coaching the defense on one team, and this year you got Ted Roof on the other team. So I would say this year's team is favored by 4.5.
By the way, what do you think of this floating of 2 quarterbacks? I just could see visions of Joey Gatewood in my head that somehow we're going to get some of that.
No, that Gatewood was because you have to bring in a big guy to run some of these plays. That was his package. You already have KJ Jefferson out there. That is his package already. He can do that. So I don't think you're bringing in another guy to just run the ball in short yards. You're not bringing in another guy to throw the ball. So this is the KJ Jefferson show unless he gets injured.
This segment, I think, works so much better when Adam is in one of the boxes, when I can cornily say, Adam, what's in the box? But I understand we may have something this week, brought to us by Charlie Hustle.
Hey, gents. Sorry I couldn't be there with you tonight, but don't you worry. What's in the box, sponsored by Charlie Hustle, continues on. Remember, promo code TEN1215 gets you 15% off any non-sale order. Here's the question, gentlemen. If you had to eat only one food for every meal for the rest of your life, what would you eat? Giddy up.
This one's easy for me. Cereal. I can eat cereal for breakfast. I can eat it for dinner. Yeah, and it's gluten-free. Not sugar-free necessarily, depending on what you get, but all over the cereal. Give me some Lucky Charms.
What is your go-to cereal, Trace? Lucky Charms?
I don't eat a lot of cereal, but I like mixing Lucky Charms with Fruity Pebbles if I'm in an unhealthy mood, and if healthy, something like Corn Flakes.
You learn something new every day. I did not see Trace as a Lucky Charms guy. Look at that.
Yeah, I like the marshmallows.
Let's see. What if I had to eat one food? Give me cheesecake.
Oh, you're gonna be that's gonna be a problem at some point.
Give me cheesecake.
Yeah,
cheesecake. Plain cheesecake?
Oh yeah, just plain cheesecake.
Okay. Mike.
That's hard. Same thing every single day, 3 times a day. I mean, you're going to get sick of no matter what it is.
Versatility in cereal. You didn't say it had to be the same cereal, but the cheesecake. I don't know.
That was implied.
Right. So along those same lines as Trace, I'm a big ice cream guy. and you can mix it up with different flavors of ice cream. It's just got to be ice cream. I could do that, I think. And just this week, my family, we bought the Ninja Creamy. I don't know if you guys have heard what this thing is.
No.
But you can make your own ice cream at home. It makes ice cream. It makes gelato. It makes sorbet. It makes all kinds of stuff, slushies. And we've made a couple here the last couple nights. I think I might be able to do that. So if I can mix it up between those things, maybe ice cream would be the way to go.
When does the novelty wear off on this machine? You're going to have to mix it up with like boozy popsicles or something in order for you to remain interested once football season starts.
Well, not for me anymore because I still have not had a drink since.
By the way, people stop me and ask me about that. They don't believe you. By the way, they don't think it's going to last when football season starts.
Okay. Well, we were going to find out, but it is true. I do not intend to drink anymore. It's been
ever
10 weeks. Yeah, I don't think ever. Maybe. I
feel
great. Yeah.
When are you giving up hot dogs next, Mike?
Yeah, hot dogs and potato salad is more for the character here on the show. I do eat them if available, but I don't actually eat them all the time. If I'm
wait, you're not the same way out of the box?
Not all the time. But
what are you going to do at the tailgate? You're showing up 20 minutes before it ends. There's no way you're hanging out all day in Gainesville and not drinking anything.
Yeah, I'm going to have a hotel room in Gainesville. If it's too hot out, you know what? I do have tickets to the alumni tailgate a couple hours before. So I'll go out there and have something to eat, shake some hands, have a couple sodas or whatever. But yeah, I don't intend to drink, at least for now. And who knows? I mean, people have fallen off the wagon before. But right now, that's the way it is.
This is quite the development. It really is. I'm skeptical, but I applaud your conviction on it. So ice cream, cheesecake, and cereal. If the three of us are on some sort of island, that's going to be quite the sight, really. I want to thank Andrew and Clay for all their help out at Media Day. Adam is in transit back, and we will soon get those interviews up on Sons of UCF's YouTube channel. And, of course, big happy birthday to Coach Lounsbury and his insights. Thank him for his insights and being at practice all week. Scrimmage on Sunday. And don't forget, FanFest Sunday. Look for Brian. Look for me. Look for Mike. You coming?
I don't think I'm going to make it there. I'll probably be at the women's soccer thing Saturday, so I'll be worn out.
You'll have had enough. Hey, Clay, thanks for popping in and running.
Oh, yeah, I heard my name, and I hit the button, and here I am.
Wait. Have we ever had the two of you in the same show?
No. We've never been in the same place at the same time.
And you've never met, right? You've not ever been
in person. No, I just got his phone number today, so now I'm gonna nag him for
call him maybe.
It's like looking into the future, isn't it, Clay?
Yeah, something like that. We'll go with that for now.
Mike and Mike Jr. here on Sons of UCF Live. All right, thank you everybody for joining us for this week's Sons of UCF Live. Go Knights!
Charge on!
Charge on!
Charge on!